All right, welcome to Faith Over Breakfast. My name is Eric Deepen, and we are back from our month break. And across from me is Andy Littleton from Mission Church, and I am the pastor at the Village. And we have this conversation every week, most weeks anyway, about whatever the heck is on our mind. And this week, apparently Ricky Gervais and the Golden Globes gets pretty intense some moments, but it's a lot of fun.
That was great.
Yeah. So I hope you guys like it. And if you don't, that's okay. Just give us 3 stars instead of 5.
Yeah. And just listen, because what else do you have to do?
All right. Have a good day. Well, welcome to Faith Over Breakfast, even though there'll be an introduction already. But
that's right.
It's good to see you, Andy.
Good to see you,
It's been a long time. Our podcast has gone,
We've taken a bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, it's we almost forgot we had one.
Yeah, have you podcasted at all since you've done some Healing the City?
Yeah, I mean, our podcasts are all the way, I think we're all the way out till the middle of February now, I think, at least.
Yeah, so you've been doing that. I was on a podcast called The Science of Things.
The Science
recently.
of Things.
Yeah. So if you want to hear myself and two dudes from kind of the hip hop community, as well as Shannon from our church, who's also a part of the Sunshine Mile, talking about Broadway Boulevard and going to Scrappy's as young people, which if you grew up in Tucson, that was a big part of a lot of Tucsonans' lives. Go check out The Science of Things and look for the Andy and Shannon
Andy
episode.
and Shannon.
Yeah.
And is that recorded at a different studio than yours?
That was actually recorded at Thunder Canyon Brewery.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Downtown. So
interesting.
Yeah. Anyway,
was it noisy?
They do it when it's closed.
Oh, okay. So
but they're brewing in the back. So there's one time the grain machine turned on, and because we were talking about Broadway, we joked that, well, that's kind of, this is what you're gonna be dealing with, some extra sound. So don't worry about it. That's just a sound effect back there.
Yeah.
So they've just embraced the, somebody knocks on the door sometimes, bangs on the window, and they're just
with it.
They just go with it.
Right. That's kind of Tucsonan.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good though. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been on hiatus a bit, and we're just so you listeners know, we've kind of made some recommitments.
Recommitments.
We,
Andy
sometimes
is leading us into a new age of recommitments.
Sometimes, like, you and your wife, you go on a vacation and you see some beautiful mountain, and you look at each other and say, we should have a recommitment ceremony. Well, that's today for us. We're having a recommitment, and so we last week actually was our recommitment. We went to Alice's restaurant.
We did go to Alice's, and he bought me breakfast.
I bought you some breakfast, and I had a little corned beef hash, which was like my mountain experience.
Corned beef hash is your mountain experience.
It is. And
oh my goodness.
And we talked about how we want to keep doing this podcast. We were encouraged by the amount of downloads we got, so thank you for all that last year. And we said to ourselves, we're going to put a little more effort in. So today, we're going to talk about Ricky Gervais and his speech. And Eric printed the speech. This is a new level of investment for us.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could go to the sound clip? But
there might be
I didn't have time to do that.
There might be some legal issues there.
Maybe. I think because it's made public all over the place.
It's probably maybe not.
Yeah.
But just the fact that so
we're gonna have to lay some groundwork for this whole Ricky Gervais thing though.
We are. Good, and quickly just to lay groundwork for our podcast, if you're new or haven't listened for a while, this is we do not script this. We don't really plan. We do usually the night before confirm
the subject,
what we're talking about.
Right.
So we can at least sort of think. And then we show up, and the premise is, like, if 2 pastors just sat down for breakfast and they talked about something, that's what this is.
Yeah, that'll just be.
So we're not giving you the scripted, here's our opinions, here's all the answers. This is us just working it out. So I don't know what Eric has. I have some thoughts about Ricky Gervais' speech, but I don't know what Eric's are, and we're about to find out, and you're about to find out with us.
I just want to comment on the premise. So before this, because we no longer have actual breakfast most of the time,
I'd love for that to change.
I sat behind 2 pastors at Brugger's as they talked. And I want to tell you that
Oh.
if people were actually listening to what had happened if two pastors talked,
Yeah.
is that there's always one talking pastor and one listening pastor. And so
Oh.
all you would hear is one of us while
That's,
the other listened and monologued, because that's what pastors really do
Yeah.
in their conversation.
not all of them. I have though
I know, but
been a fly on a wall for several pastor conversations where they don't know I'm a pastor. I know.
am the secret.
And
Ninja.
it's it's interesting.
They're very interesting.
Yeah. I just quick note. So a while back on Faith Over Breakfast, my buddy Bob Putman was on
Yeah.
along with my friend Pike, and they were talking, and Bob just had an interaction at Food City where somebody gave the $1 million bill tract to the lady in the line at Food City, and to try to witness to her. And he sent me a long text reporting what that was like to witness as somebody who's not a Christian.
The
And
$1 million track. Yeah, I've seen those.
we've all seen. I have one that I was given. Somebody handed me one at the fair, and I kept it as a what not to do illustration.
I
But
think they should have penny tracks.
yeah. That'd be. I think everybody be
At least be
slightly
funny.
more comfortable with that.
Here's a penny.
Here's a penny.
Unfold the track.
It looks worthless, but believe me. Yeah, it's like Jesus. Doesn't look like much, but hold on to it. Hold on to
if
him
it's
for
copper.
eternity, and it's going to be worth a lot.
Right.
Wow, that was cheesy.
Okay, we just went downhill on that
Yeah.
one. All right, so
but anyway, yeah, we're aware we're not the typical pastors necessarily, which is great. But you get to sit in on our breakfast conversation. We used to have breakfast together and talk before a radio show. Now we've made the conversation the podcast.
yeah, it's good. And I think, other podcasts have sprung out of this, and we do other podcasts. This is fun. It's been a really cool thing.
Yep. The Village does Healing the City. Mission Church, my church, does Odd Church. So if you want to fill your mind with more rabble, follow all that.
Yeah.
So let's jump into this. I honestly heard about this, saw it on the news, and ever listened to it until last night at 11.
That's probably the best time to listen to it, because I had listened to it a week ago.
Oh, really?
So I had to re-listen to it.
Yeah. So I
remember.
I just got it. I got hit with it, and I went to sleep, woke up, here I am.
All right.
So that's where I'm at.
So let's talk about it.
Why do you want to talk about it?
Because it was all over the place. Like I don't watch the Golden Globes, and the Golden Globes were a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
I don't watch anything. So all I watch is Ken Burns country music.
Okay, Ken Burns country music. We'll do that sometime this year.
Please.
The politics of Ken Burns.
Oh yeah, we should. We could and we should. Oh, that
might be interesting.
Let's do it. Let's ditch this podcast and do that right now.
I know nothing about Ken Burns, but not that much more about Ricky. But he was the host and has been the host 5 times. This is his 5th time.
And they know bringing him on, it's going to be uncomfortable, I hear.
Yes. And I listened to a few of his other ones from other years.
Oh, I did not.
He is mean.
Yeah, he's a jerk face.
But in particular, what he said in different spots to
it was cringy.
The audience.
Yeah.
People thought it was noteworthy.
Yes.
To talk about.
Yes.
And discuss.
Oh yeah, it's viral, right?
Right.
I looked at the likes, dislikes on this is an interesting just kind of public opinion poll. The likes and dislikes on YouTube, right? There were 7,000-ish dislikes.
Wow.
But 448,000 likes. So that's, people resonated with something, obviously, or a lot of things. I had one of my dudes at the shop at work, he loved it. Right away when he came in, he's like, "Did you see that? Oh man, he took him to task."
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's read the one that I thought was the most substance to it.
Okay.
So that we can just begin the process.
Get in there.
So he's already said some.
We're toward the end now, right?
He said some really mean things, and then he says, "It's the last time. Who cares?" And then he says, "Apple roared into the TV game with a morning show, a superb drama about importance of dignity and doing the right thing, made by a company that runs sweatshops in China. Well, you say you're working, but
you're woke.
Woke, yeah. You say you're woke, but the companies you work for." In China, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that was a burn.
It was, and to be honest, it's a white liberal man
Yep.
speaking to other liberals,
Yep.
and he's saying you guys are inconsistent
Yep.
and actually don't follow through with what you say, and you
Now-
are part of the problem.
But, so I heard that loud and clear.
Yeah.
And then he lifted up his page. Did you catch this? And he's wearing an Apple Watch.
Nice.
And I'm sure there's comments on this. And I didn't look at any of them. I just observed it. He lifted up his sheet, and he definitely is wearing an Apple Watch.
It's an Apple Watch.
Like,
For
no
sure.
doubt.
No
like,
doubt.
I mean, okay. If it's not, it's some Samsung something. I'm almost positive it's an Apple Watch. Bet you he's on an iPhone.
Right.
Bet he has a MacBook at home.
Right.
Like, so
can we start there? Because I think
that was an interesting piece for me, because I felt that burn, and I was like, ooh, that's good. And then he lifts up his arm, and I went, where's your right, man?
Right.
Like,
from where do you speak?
From where do you speak? Dude, you made millions on, The Office and The Office and The Office and
all right.
The British and the, you're a bunch of white people watching your stuff.
Right.
You're the people you're criticizing consume you.
Right.
They made you who you are. That's why you're on this stage.
Right.
Ricky. I think he might know that. He's a
Yes.
comedian, so he can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe he lifted up his sleeve on purpose
Maybe.
to show the irony of it all. But what he's actually talking about is our participation in culture and a participation in the larger economy that actually boils down past Apple, past all these big companies in China, to you and me, and how we function in the culture.
Speaking of which, can you take your iPhone off the desk so it doesn't buzz?
So you're like you're kind of like trying to act like my boss or something. I don't know about that.
I just wanted to note that your iPhone was mine is in my pocket.
Yeah, yours is in your pocket. Okay, I gotcha. Well, that's the question. Like, I live in a world of convenience, and I like my convenience, and it comes at the cost of other people.
Yeah, and so true. And then so you, as a Ricky Gervais or we can get up on our soapbox, point out how stupid it is, and make people look like idiots. But we're doing the same stuff,
right?
Like Ricky, he talked about, you pulled up in your limos, I pulled up in my limo. So like the meanness, it was super mean. But what sort of shaved off the hard edge of the meanness to me, in a way, was that he subtly, purposefully or not, admitted he's doing it all too.
Right.
Even though that didn't come through strong, it was there.
Yeah. So, do you think that, what's the importance of it? Is this important? Should
I don't
we
know.
be talking about it? I mean, because I think in our culture right now, there's all of this going on about being woke, about understanding your impact, about making a difference in the world. In particular, the people that I'm around, millennials and Gen Zers, they all they want to make a change. Greta's big deal right now.
Sure. And her message is spread on 1 million iPhones.
Right. 1 million iPhones.
Yeah.
All over the place. There's a lot of irony in the way that we are interconnected with each other.
And there's a ton of irony in all that we stand for. There was something on the radio the other day about this area in London that got rid of plastics, or was, claiming to be zero waste. And when the reporter went there was plastic all over the place.
Right.
And, it seems to be more about taking the stance than actually doing it.
Right. So what is it that I can do? What is it that we should be doing as followers of Jesus? I mean, this is not, I'm asking that for our audience, but I'm actually just asking that for myself. To go back to our premise, if I were sitting with you and I didn't think anyone was listening, I would be, Andy, that was an interesting conversation. It was fun to be the observer and watch him, ream people that you feel very judged by. I think that's kind of part of at least my experience.
I want to dig into that really quick. So you feel judged by the elites?
Yes.
I personally don't think they give a rip.
No, they don't.
And here's my point, though. I also don't feel judged by them. I just don't feel connected at all.
You feel disconnected.
Yeah, and I don't care.
Right, but do you think people in general feel disconnected, or is it?
I
just
think
you?
people. No. I think there's a couple of groups. I think my joke is always like when I see the tabloids, and always say this to my daughter or whatever, like, or I see all the magazines, I go, they should probably be reading magazines about us.
Right.
Just because, it's like, why do we, of course, as a culture, we're obsessed with these people.
Because they're gods.
They're gods, and we live vicariously through them.
Yes.
So if there's anything good about doing something like this, it's kind of like knocking an arm off one of our gods. Ricky Gervais, absolutely, in this speech, is knocking arms off of Yahweh as well. Like he loves to take shots at actual gods.
Yeah, he enjoys both.
Yeah, he enjoys both. But the positive side is when it's a false god and an arm gets knocked off, and it is like,
it reveals its ugliness.
Yeah, and its insufficiency.
Yeah, yes.
Because it's like you're just people. You're not like incredible people. You're people who got a break, and you're talented. Like Leonardo DiCaprio's in there. We just watched What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Talented actor.
Holy cow. Super talented. And then I felt, okay, who'd you feel the most comfortable when he panned out into the crowd and they looked uncomfortable? Who were you, honest moment, like, good, glad you feel uncomfortable? And who were you like, oh, poor guy or poor lady?
To be honest, here's the funny thing is I didn't in this one. But what I felt is I listened to one that was either last year or the year before, and he had to introduce Mel Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
And he roasted him badly, and then they got up there and had a conversation. It was just painful. I felt bad for Mel Gibson.
I wonder if they get down afterward and Mel goes, "Whew, that was a good one."
I don't know.
Or if he's like, "I'm going to punch you in the face."
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So
none this time.
I'm not. I think that like people I actually care about in this world that I might feel judged about, or I think are trying to make a difference with their voice.
Like who were some of those?
Well, I think Meryl Streep's actually trying.
Sure.
I think there are others who are, but I don't know. I think it's weird because I'm part of this culture. I grew up, my mother, what's fascinating little tidbit about my mom is that she used to love those magazines. So they'd come into our house, like People magazine.
Yeah.
And so there's this sense of like, there are people out there who have figured it out.
Right.
And I do think like when I talk to little kids, what do they want to do? They want to become a YouTube star. They want to they want people to look at them and they want to have a voice, and these people are being seen and they have a voice. He told them, when you get up here, nobody cares about you and your stupid political position, so don't give it.
But people actually do care.
They do care. They want to be them.
My daughter today on the way to school she was coming from, she was saying like, so many famous people, and it's like, well, anybody can get on Apple Music these days, right?
Right.
So I really don't know famous people. I know some people who've gotten a little exposure by having a small band or,
sure.
But in her perception,
because they're on Apple Music,
she's just blown away. Because I showed her, I was like, hey, like these are people I know. Check out their
Apple
music. I know. Yeah, my podcast is on Apple Podcast.
Yeah.
But to her, she's just like, Dad, I need to know famous people. And I said, here's the ticket. You can't go out to know famous people. I said, you have to just know people and care about people. And if one of them happens to become well known, now you know them. I said, but if you do it the opposite way, where you only want to know them because they're famous, that's super weird.
That's true.
And it's sad for them, like, because you don't love them.
Right.
So I kind of gave her this little talk in the car, but she was just like, I wish the Stranger Things cast would come to Tucson,
Right.
And it's like this thing, like she was still just like, but they're incredible, and it's like, oh, they're just like us,
right?
They're just like us.
Right. And I feel like some of that was going on when 30 some odd years ago when I was in high school, but the social media aspect of it didn't exist.
Right.
So
she's watched all these videos about the Stranger Things cast. She thinks she knows them.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of false intimacy that's being formed. So here we have all this false intimacy, people being lonely. I think that's part of it. I had another question, and this may be more like a movie-oriented question, because he says here about sequels. This is what he says.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if I can find the sequel part. Right. He says it's serious. Most films are awful. Lazy
Lazy.
remakes, sequels. And then he goes little later on, he says, and the actors who just do Hollywood movies now do fantasy adventure nonsense. They wear masks and capes and really tight costumes. Their job isn't acting anymore. It's going to the gym twice a day and taking steroids. Really. Have you gotten an award for the most ripped junkie?
Yeah.
And there's so many people in my community who love the Marvel
Sure.
movies, and they watch them over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So first, what do you think? Like, I watch them all once. I find them interesting for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then I forget about them.
I tuned out a couple years ago.
So
I was watching them, and then lately, like a new one comes out, and
it's like chewing
I
bubble
honestly,
gum.
I'm just like, I don't care. It's gonna be the same.
Would you like a stick of Marvel?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
no.
now there's 30 of them in this one. Wow. Oh, you think they're gonna lose? No. Do you think it's gonna be close? Yes. There's gonna be a lot of. It's gonna build up, and they're almost gonna lose, and then they're gonna win.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is that people are attracted to in these Marvel movies, these superhero movies?
Like somebody behind the scenes is gonna stand up for me, but I think they also, because in the Marvel movies they can relate to the hero because they have their issues and their strengths and their brokenness and their power that overwhelms it. I think they see themselves in these heroes and can relate to it. But then these people are also like saving humanity, and
So
the evils of the age are being dealt with.
So do you think it's kind of like a little bit of a taste for what we might be when we are fully in the resurrection, or a taste of Jesus?
I can't watch a movie anymore or a TV show without seeing one of those.
Yeah.
Like almost everything I watch, when we watch, we've been getting a lot of old stuff.
Right.
But when we watched What's Eating Gilbert Grape, at the end, I was just like sitting there and I was going, I just saw this incredible metaphor for repentance and what it means for the earth to be purified by fire in the scriptures. Okay, that was the filmmaker trying to do that? No, but those themes are so incredible that the son covers his mother's shame by burning down the house, and like in so doing he redeems her. Like, it was incredible. So it's like I feel like every movie I see, because of how the scriptures are like ingrained in me, I'm seeing we as people, we just fall into these longings. Like
right.
We don't even have to, they're just there. We feel them. We need them. We want them. It's coming out in all of our film, all of our literature. Yeah. And I love talking about that. Yeah. How about you? Like, is that?
Well, I'm just wondering, like,
Marvel specifically.
Marvel. Well, I think why there's one question is it's obviously touching something, and so they keep making it because it's making money. But things make money because
people relate,
mm-hmm. And they don't necessarily go just to see the fantastic spectacle of special effects, because people have offered spectacle and not made money. So there's something about the narrative of these Marvel movies that does something. These remakes and these sequels.
Well, they've got it. There's a science down, right?
Right. There's something that touches inside of us. I think.
Well, and I think because this might culturally diverge from Christianity is the idea that because we can relate to the characters who save the world.
Right.
Like if we just believe in ourselves and if we just look to the power within us, we can overcome our weaknesses and do incredible things, right?
Right. No, I do think they have some of that. And if we all gather together for one good idea.
Even if we can't stand each other.
Yeah,
right?
We can do this.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's something beyond us. We long for a savior. You especially see it in the not the Marvel, but the DC ones, like with Superman.
Yeah.
There's this sense that we are helpless without somebody come to rescue us out of this chaos.
Yeah, there's a lot of those narratives are like something from another world.
Yes.
Comes and rescues us from ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very. And I think we long for that. But there's something in the story. Like obviously story is a big deal. Yeah. And that's why we're worshiping these people, is that they offer us stories.
Yeah.
But then we're looking underneath the sheets basically and finding out that that they're not really what they say they are according to at least one
well,
comedian.
Well, of course, but he's right. Like
Yes.
there's just people like us. And the interesting thing is they're telling us this story that resonates with us. And guess what they're getting out of it? They're just becoming millionaires.
Right.
And it's like, so, but I don't think we want to pull back that sheet. We don't want to think about it. The thing that inspires us is actually just we're paying our hard-earned money and neglecting our savings account to fill ourselves with this narrative so that somebody else can become a millionaire. And guess what? And as he's saying, and you're all unhappy and you don't really,
Right.
you don't have any answers.
You're not that happy.
The millionaires they're not okay.
Right.
You know, they're junkies. They're dying.
Right. I think I don't know if in this one or the last year he said something along, well, you're all going to die and there's no sequel.
That was this time.
Oh, because
right
this
at
time,
the beginning.
right? Yeah. That was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Talk about now he's talking. Now he went metaphysical, right?
Yeah.
Like he just went big picture on us too. Like
yeah.
he just. I mean, he's in
offered
his
them
viewpoint.
a good nihilist, approach to their
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah. Which then to me is like, even like I wonder what motivates him, with that view of like we're gonna die. There's no sequel. So why is he, working so hard and becoming such a big deal?
Right.
And even taking the time
why
to
does
critique.
he even want to matter?
Like, why bother critiquing people? It just doesn't matter. And you hear him saying, I don't care, it doesn't matter. And maybe that's part of why he just runs off at the mouth and is actually popular, because he doesn't have any restraint.
Right.
I mean, he has restraint. He actually has quite a bit, if you think about it.
Yeah, no, he's very careful.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's
right?
not
He's
dumb.
building a career.
Yeah.
He would be nothing like without doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Without saying really awkward, uncomfortable things, The Office never would have been.
Right.
And his comedy, he's not that like funny.
Right.
He's not. He's mean.
Right.
Like, he doesn't make you giggle.
Right.
He makes you cringe.
So the thing though that it does go back to is so what do I do? Like, why am I okay owning my iPhone? Why am I okay watching these movies? Why am I okay participating in this culture? Why doesn't it disrupt me more? Should it disrupt me more? And if it did, could I even? How would I manage to?
Well, yeah. What are you gonna do? Get a Samsung?
Yeah.
Or go a Nokia? What's that? Is that better? Is this
Should I go no phone?
No phone? Sure. Yeah, you're gonna communicate. What are you gonna do? Drive around in your car? Oh, you're gonna support GM and Chrysler.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I don't know the way out of sin tainted stuff.
Right. So as a follower of Jesus, what's my calling in this culture?
Yeah, that's me saying that. It's like, well, that's not very helpful.
And it was on a different subject, but I think it applies. And I had a conversation with my dad, and I was saying, like, look, the problem is in the first century there was Rome, and Paul could say, come out of Rome. You don't be like the Gentile who is given to his animal instinct. Sure. No, you have Jesus. You are now human. I mean, basically his idea is that you're a new creation. Live like a new creation. And he would juxtapose everything about Jesus up against the Roman Empire, against, Caesar. And he's saying we were to come out, be different, offer an alternative to this process, that this craziness called Rome. And,
But you couldn't get totally out.
No, you couldn't, but they did. They pulled him out. Like, so if you were a centurion, you couldn't be in the army. You had to leave. If you couldn't be a senator. They did pull people out.
But that wasn't necessarily what Jesus said to do.
No.
That was a way it got. That was a way it was interpreted and worked out. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying Jesus didn't, that we know of.
But
sit
Paul,
down.
at least, and I mean Jesus and Paul, in following Jesus, gives a very clear alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't hold any power. Maybe if a Roman citizen, you held a little bit of power, but you didn't hold a lot of power unless you were in higher up government. But in general, if you're in the church, if you're just a normal peasant, you don't have power. Right. But in the United States, we might say we don't hold power, but I hold the power of one. I have one vote, and I can use that vote. And I can collectively use it with other people.
Except for when you figure out that how the Electoral College works.
I understand. There's a lot of intricacies.
I know.
But what's told to me is I have power.
That's the sense we're working under.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if the reality is that, right? That's what I'm told. And so we believe that as followers of Jesus, we believe that somehow we can push back in all these areas. We can push back on the cinema. We can push back on the education system. We can push back in all these different places. We can change. We can have a different way. But in reality, I'm so intertwined, so intricately caught up in promoting sweatshops, in promoting lots of different things that are probably like, a couple phases from my life, I'm participating in all of this.
Well, and it's so hard because I had the sweatshop thing, hit me at one point. I was like, I didn't like, I found out how clothing was made, and somewhere in my furniture manufacturing thing, like, oh man, they haven't made this documentary yet that I know of. If they ever do, I'm down to be a part of it. But like, how do you think your Target furniture is made? Like, And so as I started to realize like why does it need to cost so much, is like when people actually make things well, it takes tons of time. And when I look at the quality of life of our workers at Midtown and how like, I feel like we can't pay them another dime, and like they are struggling, like they're not like dying out there, but it's like, it's hard to, even like selling the most expensive stuff, it's like, we're struggling. Like, how are they making things that they can sell for $50? Like, how are tables $50? Follow that train and you get
75,
down.
but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Follow that train and you get down to someone in India or someone in, deep Mexico or South America or Africa or all kinds of places. You've got a super poor person working in a factory owned by Westerners, making pennies in really insane, terrible work conditions.
Yes.
That's what's happening. There's mass production on the backs of these people, and we don't want to see it. La 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 la. Target is beautiful. Let's go. Let's get the stuff. So I've been like feeling that, right? And so then I'm like, I'm going to buy my clothes at thrift stores. I'm going to try
I've done all this.
Me too. Yeah. And then you find out
where your toothpaste is made. You can't buy dumb toothpaste.
You can't, right? And you can't buy used toothpaste, and then and your cleaning supplies,
right?
And it never ends. And then you start to find out that seems like Savers and Goodwill might not have the best ethics either. Actually, know,
right?
And it's just so. Now I don't think it's quit and give up. But if you think you're going to perfect this, if you think you're going to get righteous, if you think you're going to get out from under the curse, No,
well,
you're not.
And that's interesting, and because here's the thing. This is the question I have, and I've been wrestling with it for a very long time, is that when I read Paul, when I read Jesus, like they're definitely there for liberation. I am a liberation person. I understand liberation theology, and I enjoy it, but they also are there very clearly to function within the culture in all of its brokenness and to negotiate it, because the most important thing is that they believe that once the Holy Spirit enters, the slow transformation will happen.
And that there's a new kingdom kind of overlapping this one that's going to win out.
Right.
But you have to wait.
Yes.
You have to wait. So you kind of have to like exist in this brokenness while you wait.
Right.
When I was a couple years ago, we were in one of the Gospels, and I was reading up on the stuff about Jesus being a Nazarene. And it seems like the newer archaeology is showing that Nazareth was a Roman garrison. Now, that's a couple people out there probably disagree with that, but it seems like that's the general sense. So what it means that Jesus grew up in Nazareth as a carpenter with a carpenter dad probably means they weren't just like in a little shop making tables and chairs.
Oh, no, he worked on Herod's.
Yes, they built Rome. Like he was under the thumb. He was in the sweatshop. And so seriously, that's
or actually making some money, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but not what they should have made.
Sure.
Right. Rome was being built on their backs. And something about that dawned on me, it's not just, Jesus he didn't come in and go I'm not participating in that. He suffered under it. We're suffering under some of this.
Yes.
But I think we have to see it that way.
Right.
We have to understand that, I think we have to as we participate in this, there should be a healthy, unsettled sense. I need this tool that I own, and maybe you don't. And you got to wrestle with that too. Do I need this phone? Do I need this thing? Do I need this car? but like I need it. How do I do this in the best way possible? But also understanding like this is it's still cursed. Like this isn't a pure thing. I haven't done a thing that's not tainted. I haven't done a thing that isn't like kind of like putting me under the thumb of somebody and others. No, you're not. You're not righteous. You're not righteous when you buy your used car, right? You're still consuming all that oil.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I think what happens though when we're the power,
right? And
so
we are.
You can't tell the oppressed person though, hey, Jesus suffered. You need to suffer too. Don't worry, I'm in power. Like,
right. No,
I'm benefiting from what you have, but
it's both.
Yeah.
But then again too, like you get into management. Like talk to somebody who's in management, and it's like you try to do this well, and again, like on your best day, when you're making your best effort, people look at you and go, "That wasn't fair."
Right. But I do think, and I think Ricky might be attacking people, but he is doing something that maybe we're called to do as followers of Jesus, not in the way that he's doing it.
The critique, right?
But to speak, the gospel to power, to speak love to power. Is
he too entrenched though to do it?
Well, he can't do it because he's not following Jesus. I think.
And he's just like I think that's what it's like when I had this feeling when a Christian rapper was like ripping on the Christian music industry, and I thought you would be nothing without it. Like
sure.
You're only a good rapper in the eyes of Christian. That's what got you huge. And like that's what I feel about him. Anyway, that's probably diverting. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, and also people, you can't say people don't have a voice just because they got a voice a certain way. Like,
no, I know.
You can't say you don't have anything to say because.
I know. It's but I feel like that should be acknowledged somewhere in there that.
Sure. That the industry makes you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But.
And that you actively participated in it all the way up to getting paid stupid amounts to host the Golden Globes.
Right.
Which you didn't say no to.
Right.
Right.
Sure.
Are you passing on the check?
Right. Are you going to donate it to sweatshops in China?
Are you going to, I don't know, buy up a bunch of Apple stock and make a change?
Yeah, no, but I'm wondering though, but that's not our job. Our job isn't to tear him down.
Yeah, it is. I'm just kidding.
Our job is to, like, I think, what does it mean? Yeah, because this is power. But like he also said, I don't know if he said it here or in the other one, but he was, talking about how, racially, like, just.
Yeah, the diversity.
The diversity is it's not in the place where everybody's woke.
Yes.
Where all the white people are woke,
yes.
There's still no racial diversity.
Yeah.
He's saying, look, like white liberals aren't any more diverse than white conservatives. Like we're all just in power and enjoying our power.
And he was like, look at my show, The Office. I had a Hispanic and a black guy on there, and we made fun of him just like everybody else. See, I'm woke.
Yeah, maybe. But the question becomes, for us, like, do we need to be, how do Christians speak to power? What do we do? How do we do that? I don't think we're all agree on what that looks like. Well,
no, because then you're going to have just to be really, I don't know, typical, you'll have the Trump supporting Republican who's a Christian who's going to go, I'm trying to speak to power. The liberals are taking over. Right. And then you've got the Christian who works in the inner city and, feels like they're kind of like liberal and they're white and they're advocating and they're going, I'm speaking to power. I'm trying to take this stuff down. And then, the people in their neighborhood are like, yeah, I think you really like working with us, but you don't really understand.
Right.
And it's like, so
you're not giving the voice to the people who need the voice. It's your voice.
It's your voice. Yeah. But sometimes they want you to advocate. It's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they want you to advocate most of the time. It's been my experience of racial communities. They'd rather be empowered themselves, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's
a voice.
Gosh, it depends. Things. Yeah, depends on what. Like, if you gotta, like, if you're in South Chicago and back in the day, and Mayor Daley's about to put a highway between you and the Irish, you might like somebody in his office to say something.
Sure. No, I agree. Yeah, you want people to speak for you and that kind of.
Because You
but
can't
then
just walk in
anybody wants you to speak for them and those kinds of things.
Right.
I'm just thinking more from a larger cultural perspective, but yeah, I don't know. Like I think I do think there is a right way. I do think that Jesus he points something different than your two stereotypes. He does point to something.
I agree. I'm not saying the two stereotypes are one of the. Okay, so here's Eric, you're invited to host the Golden Globes.
I'm invited to host the Golden Globes. I'd say no.
But let's say, okay.
Okay,
so you get the chance.
I'm as funny as him.
You are. I know.
Okay,
so you get the chance Ricky Gervais had right there to speak and to speak to power.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, I think if I would make a few jokes to loosen people up, if I were able to do that, if I were funny, right? Because I want people to be loose before I think I would spend a lot more time just saying, hey, like, let's take this serious. We have a big responsibility with the power we have, and it's a gift. It's not something we deserved, and so we need to be conscious of the one who gave us that gift and not just squander it. And so here are some ways that maybe we could do that. So
think it'd work?
I think people would talk about it for a little bit and it get twittered out, and then it would go away because
news cycle's 4 hours long.
Yeah, because nobody cares
unless you rant like Ricky did, and then you get 20 hours.
Right. But we live in the world of two extremes of the micro world, micro business, micro. So in some ways this is gonna be a weird thing, but you and I, we're a celebrity. We're celebrities in a micro world.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And then there are the massive celebrities, and I don't mean celebrities in the fact that for us, that a few people know us, and a few people listen to us, and a few people enjoy us, sure. Right, together. Sure. So that's, and you and I can have a little influence. They have a big influence. There's no real people in the middle. I mean, there are, but it's not. It doesn't matter. Like, we don't care. Like, you're either in your own little isolated world, or you're in the bigger world that's just flying on at high speed. And I've chosen to be in the small world and just try to live slowly.
Right.
And offer,
once they figure out how funny you are, they're going to push you up on the stage, man.
I know.
And what are you going to do?
I'm going to do
the people
whatever
demand it.
God asks me to do. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do. Like, there's a part of me that one time I was driving down Speedway Boulevard here in Tucson, and I saw some church pastor's face up on a billboard, and I thought, oh shoot! Like, I seriously was like, what if that happened to me? Like, oh no! Like, you just like, not that I was in any danger of it at the moment, or now, but.
But hey, wait a minute. You were on the news 3 times this week. You are in danger. Next thing you know, you're going to be in a billboard.
Yeah, but it's but one of them everybody hates because I was complaining about like homeless folks camping in our yard. So, the 10 seconds of what I said, the people who watched it are like, what a judgmental, And so
did you get like 2 dislikes and 3 likes on your
I don't know. And then and the other one is associated with the Broadway widening, so everybody just hates all that.
That's compelling television, right there.
It's compelling television, compelling telly. But I saw this billboard and I just thought that would be like so hard to navigate.
Yeah,
like if it got to where every word you said was like heavy enough, like if your face is on a billboard, people are like your words, they matter, and it and I just thought, man, I'm not smart enough for that. Like I don't know what to say, like right. I'm just trying to follow Jesus, and then I kind of think that's what you need to do, like, and say is be a little more, I don't know, it's anticlimactic, but it's like, look, I mean, I think if somebody like Ricky Gervais, and he wouldn't get up there without being as crass and crazy as he is. But if he could take a little more humble stance, I think he'd have more sway with those people. I think when he talks to those people, he alienates himself from them. He talks like he's higher than them, but everybody knows he's not. And maybe in private, it's a different story. Maybe that's just his show. But I think like almost a little more self-deprecation would be nice. Like where you saw into his struggle, that'd be
interesting,
a little more powerful. And then I think like the best way to advocate for the people that in the sweatshops is potentially to like get to know some of them, and probably don't broadcast their face on anything, but just actually know them and actually like engage in their world and maybe hear their stories, and then keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. I'd like to do a lot of actuallys. That would be good.
Yeah.
So
there's my thought.
Yeah, no, and I think probably there's the issues that he brought up, and then there's the actual reality that those movie stars offer to the world, and Ricky Gervais wants us to, and that is we want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be known. And these people we think are seen, known, and heard, right?
Yeah.
And we want to be like them because they have that. They have people saying, we like you. We like what you offer. We want to be around you. That's what I want.
Yeah.
We all want to be a celebrity. We don't want all that, crazy. We just want to be seen, known, and heard by a lot of people and say we're valuable, because the question we come with is, am I valuable? Do I have anything good to offer? And the answer the world keeps saying is no. And it says no to these people a lot too.
Or it says yes, and then in your actual experience you realize
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it rarely says yes for very long.
Yeah, I just feel like a big thing right now is like you're valuable, you have a voice, and then you figure out like, yeah, but I still don't have access to all these places and things, and I can't just have what I really desire and want. And
yeah, I certainly would say that there's
powerful people still
a stream of self-esteem.
Yeah.
In our culture, you can do it. It's up to you to do it.
Unless you're in the other political party, in which case, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
And go away, please, and die.
Yeah.
All right, let's land the podcast right there. So thanks for tuning in, and it was great. Eric, thanks for the topic and printing out all this good stuff.
Yeah.
And good to see you. And
it's good to see you.
Remember, we're on the interwebs, faithoverbreakfast.com. You can listen to us Apple Music, Buzzsprout, Spotify. I think we're going to add Pandora at some point, because why not? Google. Yep, we're in the places where podcasts can be heard. And if you rate us, if you tuned in this long, it's because you're the kind of person who could rate us.
Don't rate us anywhere else. Rate us on iTunes, because all podcasts take their information from iTunes.
Oh, they just pull it from iTunes. So rate us on iTunes, please, because that means a lot. If you really like it, bump it up to a 5, but please be honest. And we and share podcasts you like. I mean, that's the simplest little thing. Just take our post and share it. And actually, every time somebody does that, our podcast gets way more listens, and then we feel like celebrities and we feel better about ourselves. And then someday, if we get big enough, somebody will critique the snot out of us, and we can be humbled.
Yeah.
What's the issue?
Oh, I just don't feel good. Like, you should take pictures of me today. Better be like really artistic and make me look like so good.
Good.
I need to look really good. If I don't look good, you better not put me up.
You're hiding behind that thing.
I know. I'm trying to hide behind them.
There it is. There it is. Oh, look at that.
No, like
smile.
Revenge now, Mr. Hat Man. We need some revenge.
Hold on.
No.
Mr. Hatman. Oh, no, I was going to say, I want to make sure these actually worked. Oh, the one I took did not. Yours did. So this one I'm trying out a little app action here.
Oh, wow. There we go. That actually turned out nice.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Send me that.
Yeah, I will. You're trying out some app action? Oh, are you trying out? What are you doing?
I'm just
gosh,
it's horrible.
It is horrible.
Just seeing how those turned out. And I'm gonna see if I can find like in the same app like a Ricky Gervais something.
Oh, okay.
And like stitch that in there.
All right.
Anyway, I'll play with it. Okay. Or maybe I could just put Alice in there because
that would be cool.
She fed me this morning.
I got another suggestion.
Oh, yeah?
For what we should talk about.
Uh-oh.
Somebody suggested that we talk about what's going on in TSD right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some interesting layers to. I think we could do that one next week because it's drawn out.
Yeah.
Here, I'll put it. I have a note, but it's an interesting little piece to that puzzle is like the Hispanic.
Well, Mike Alameda's big time.
But like I've talked to like younger Hispanics, and their sense, like when they're really just being raw, is they're like, okay, so the school board in the city say they care about Hispanic people, but all of a sudden, if we're conservative, they don't want to hear us.
Right. They don't want to hear you unless you're. Yeah.
Which was, and they were like, most of us are. And this is really frustrating, which I didn't see that. I wasn't thinking of that angle. There's always angles, right?
Yeah, there are lots of angles.
Lots of angles.
So. I also have a podcast for you to listen to on the liturgist.
Oh, look at that.
And I haven't listened to the liturgist. It was forwarded to me that I'd like to talk about. So I might put a little bit of this rambling at the very end of the podcast, like after we say goodbye, like just little bits of
I hate that.
Rambling. Yeah, I know you hate that.
Does not. It's like, why do I listen? Why?
Well, because people are like, oh yeah, it's like the bonus material.
Okay, as long as it's at the end.
It's a bonus.
If you want,
it's
you can put how happy I am about it.
Oh, good. People will know how happy you are about it, and then we can vote. We'll see how many people actually listen.
Nobody's
at Mission Church. No. I want you to go up to Andy at Mission Church, and I want you to say, "Hey, I liked that ending part," or "Hey, I thought that ending part was stupid. I'm with you." And same with the village. We need some votes. We want to have interaction with our listeners.
Okay.